Now, what's going to happen with a combat veteran who's got serious screws loose when they pull you over and tell you they want to search your car and you say no? They're going to pistol whip you. They're going to taser you. They're going to shoot you. That's why more and more you'll see veteran cops, they just get somebody on the ground and nobody knows why, and they just start shooting people because they have flashbacks. I've had family that came back from Vietnam, and for 2 years after, there'd be a backfire on the street. They'd jump under the table because, you know, they'd been at bases with mortar attacks. I mean, this is just what happens. And so we're going to have a giant police force made up of military, but then it gets worse. For at least a decade, they've been testing amphetamines, amnesics, steroids, aggression drugs on the troops. They have got them so hopped up on drugs, it would make your head spin. They're giving them experimental malaria drugs that admittedly cause psychotic breaks. Then when they get home and are depressed, they give them, what do they give them? Prozac-type drugs. On their own insert, says causes psychotic breaks, psychotic behavior. You give a battle-hardened killer, and that's what they are. They're killers. They're trained killers. They're trained to kill people, to blow things up, to burn things. The Army admits they have troops in Afghanistan and Iraq where they go in villages and kill everyone. Kill everyone. And now they're going to come back here. And they're going to kill people. We're going to get to that Cheney news a little bit later. I'm going to continue with calls here. Let's go to Johnny in Kansas. You're on the air. Welcome.
Hey, Alex.
Yes, sir.
You're doing a fantastic job, man. I mean, I've been listening to you since about 99, and I used to try to get on your show, and it was a challenge at best.
Well, good to have you here. What's on your mind?
Sorry about that. Hey, got a couple of things here. We just had a vet that's supposed to have went off here, and I think he started in Oklahoma. And according to the stories on the news, he raped a 12 or 13-year-old girl and then beeline to Texas. Have you heard about that? They just caught him.
No, but I see articles every day about vets going crazy.
This one here, as it laid out in front of me, it struck me that this guy was kind of, sounds like a psyop.
Oh, you know that's going to happen. It's a psyop to advertise, first behind the scenes and now publicly, that vets are going to start IEDing, improvised explosive devising, every police department in the country. They tell cops, vets will attack you. Now they advertise it, so unstable people are, and the system knows exactly what they're doing, are going to hear that and think, I won't go shoot up my family. I'll bomb someone. And so they're advertising it. Again, every time somebody jumps off the Brooklyn Bridge and they advertise it, other copycatters rush to do it. Every time somebody climbs the enclosures at major high-rises in Chicago, New York, or L.A. and jumps off, cops are stationed for the next 2 days because crazies see it on the news and go, I'm going to do that. And that's why when this country's faced real terrorism in the 60s and 70s, some of it Soviet-funded, they would not give it attention in the news. When real terrorism is ignored, only fake terrorism is promoted. Go ahead.
Let's get on to some national terrorism with the earthquake and the hurricane.
Yes.
All right. Have you heard that they've got evidence that the earthquake was a nuclear detonation underground?
I know that there's underground areas in Colorado and D.C., and I know that scientists have said it was highly unusual in both places, but particularly in Virginia and D.C., and I know that they have these type of systems, but I don't think there's any evidence to the fact that I've seen. I mean, I've seen the sites that always speculate.
Had some information come out of Canada that had the actual, supposedly had the actual seismology graph that showed the earthquake, and there was no buildup like a natural earthquake.
No, I did see that. Even the Washington Post said there wasn't a buildup, and there wasn't plates in that area. It's very unusual, very suspicious, and that's why I read the New York Times admitting that you can create earthquakes with explosives. They can drill, pump the explosives in, detonate them. If they have the computer maps of the seismology, if they detonate it right in the key area. I appreciate your call. Interesting points. Good to hear from you, Tim. Let's go now to Tina in Indiana. You're on the air. Go ahead.
Hi, Alex. It's actually Teeny, but that's okay. I wanted to ask, did you know anything about the pharmacist giving out flu shots? That it's mandatory for them to do that? And they have to have a quota that they got to meet for these flu shots?
Well, I know they admit now there's quotas for cops to give tickets and generate revenue, and I know that they do tell at some of the big chains, because I've been sent the memos on it by pharmacists, that it's their job to basically push flu vaccines, just like businesses push a customer loyalty card. And I know that I've gone to get a prescription filled and had them push it on me, so I start preaching at them. And I know that they are trying to order pharmacists and medical workers to take vaccines to be able to work in the medical field. But lawsuits have borne out that that's unlawful and uncivil, and you can lose a lawsuit. So, yeah, they try to bushwhack and bamboozle doctors, nurses, janitors in hospitals, pharmacists to take vaccines. But the last H1N1 shot, they admitted, doubles your chances of getting the regular flu. I mean, that's the Canadian government admits that as a dangerous vaccine. I mean, it's real simple. I'm sorry, go ahead.
A pharmacist, because I was talking to her about it, and I had mentioned to her, I says, don't you know that your flu shots have mercury in them? And they're going, oh, yeah, we know, but it's just such a low dose that even pregnant people can take it. And I'm going, oh, my God.
Yeah, you know, until 2 years ago, in every medical manual worldwide, in fact, we posted an article by a doctor last week about this, it said, do not give a vaccine to a pregnant woman. Not just the mercury, but the autoimmune response can cause a abortion, a miscarriage. You reap what you sow. You train millions of young men in the last decade how to kill. You send them into third world hellholes to kill, to torture, to grow opium fields. And when they come home, the system is going to use their rapine to take everybody's liberties. On one end, they're going to make them cops to use against the public, and on the other hand, use those that aren't police as a pretext to sick the paramilitary police on us all. This is the tale of the New World Order problem reaction solution system. I'm going to go back to Teeny in Indiana and then to Tim and many others that are patiently holding. I want to remind listeners that we are launching the new TV show every weeknight, 7 p.m. It will stream to you at prisonplanet.tv. And we're going to have special reports many nights of the week that expand the show. We're going to premiere documentaries at prisonplanet.tv. We are upping the fight against the globalists. We've hired reporters. We are just really intensifying what we're doing, because if not us, who? And this is going to allow us to focus and condense the information so that it's absolutely effective when you pass it on to others. We're going to have functions with the newscast where if you're a member, you can download it and then send it to a friend. So if you're not a prisonplanet.tv member, please become one today, and your membership supports and funds our critical operations. prisonplanet.tv. Let's go back to Teeny in Indiana. So briefly, what did the pharmacist tell you?
Well, she just basically told me that mercury, you know, it was such a low dose in there that it's not harmful. And, you know, after I heard that, I just couldn't think anymore, you know. And
when they tell her she has to take it to have her job, she doesn't ask to see the law or ask to see the regulation?
Well, see, the thing is I worked at that pharmacy with the pharmacist that I spoke with. I worked there. And let me tell you, I'm 53 years old. The last time I went to the doctor was the day my daughter was born. She's 32 years old. I'm healthy. I don't need to go to the doctor and get all these medications. And when I started working at the pharmacy, I said to myself, now I know why I don't go to the doctor. You know, because I don't want them to prescribe me for things that...
Every week, people that I've known for years, I hear that they've died. And it's always when they go in for a spider bite that's gotten well, but the doctor wants to cut it out. Or it's when they go in to have a hernia fixed and they die of flesh-eating bacteria. I mean, I have lost so many friends and acquaintances who go in totally healthy and are killed in the hospital. And the government even admits 350,000 people die from negligent complications. 300,000+ die from drug interactions. I mean, the most dangerous thing in America are the hospitals. I'm not saying that hospitals aren't great for trauma, like a broken leg or a car wreck, and there are a lot of great doctors. But there's also a lot of doctors who shouldn't be doctors. And it's only getting worse. I mean, I stay away from the hospital like the plague. I appreciate your call. Let's go to, I don't want to cut this caller short, but we'll see here. Let's talk to Tim in Utah. Tim, you're on the air.
Hey, Alex.
Yes, sir.
Hey, appreciate your 70s bumper music.
You bet.
Back in time. Hey, I got a couple questions. I've been studying the fascist globalist control freaks for about 20 years. And a couple weeks ago, you were talking about suppressed high tech that they've been developing, for the last few decades. Why do you think they never really roll that stuff out to scare the heck out of people? They just play with it a little bit here and there, but they don't really take advantage of all that technology that they've been developing. Does it just seem like there's something else going on in their heads that they don't want to use that kind of stuff to scare people, but they're pulled back for some reason?
Let me try to answer the question when we come back in the second hour. But Tim in Utah, if you just joined us, asked a very sophisticated question that would really take a dissertation to try to answer properly. But I'll try to be succinct and then get his take on it. The military-industrial complex has developed, with their unlimited trillions of U.S. taxpayer money, a lot of super science, to use a science fiction term. They created artificial suns 30 years ago. They created black holes 20 years ago. They're always announcing Japanese for the first time make a black hole, 3 years ago. And I can go pull up the DARPA test decades ago. They have done incredible things in cyclotrons and superconducting supercolliders. There has been a 60-year deep base program that's admitted, but the details aren't known. I've gotten some pieces of that from military personnel and others. It's very credible. The point is there's a lot going on we don't know. But we have examples of the SR-71 Blackbird in service in the mid-50s. They're saying it's the fastest plane in the world still today. Does anyone really believe that? 20 years after they say they had it, in the late 80s, they unveiled the B-2 bomber. You see the stealth helicopter crash. My military sources say that's 3 generations ago or 30 years ago. That's a very old helicopter that crashed there in the fake bin Laden raid. So what's happening is the globalists want a world government, they say, to keep dangerous technologies from getting out of the wrong hands. They want a global tyranny, they say, to stop other rogue nations from developing the systems they've already discovered. And so they don't want to let the public understand all the developments and technologies that they've discovered but haven't yet absolutely mastered. They can extend life. Normally you die in 1 year of cancer of the pancreas. Steve Jobs, almost 8. The globalists don't control the world yet. They're able to steer it. They're able to dominate it, but not control it. Not 100%. They're able to play different groups off against each other. They're able to flip sides. So they haven't rolled out the technologies because they want to have a limited dole-out of the technology so they can control it and master it. And then sell the last generation to their enemies to entice them into war and war with their neighbors. But they don't want to roll out the super systems because then if those get in other people's hands down the road, because once you roll them out, they invariably get sold in the black market, then they've got to deal with that problem. But more and more, they are starting to come out with it. But they said by 2012, they want half the Air Force to be drone. They're well in line to do it. By 2020, almost the entire Air Force, except troop carriers, will be robot. And they'll be controlled by robots, not by humans. The mission will be programmed. It'll be given by a human, but then the machines will carry out most of the decisions. And that's the big holy grail that the system is looking for. They're looking to completely take humans out of the equation. So I'll come back and get your take on that, Tim, and get into some other super technologies as well that they test on the public. They test all this medical stuff on us, and then what works is circuited away, not approved, and kept at special research government facilities, and then doled out to a Steve Jobs.